Hello, everyone. This is Thani, founder and CEO of Monda and DataRate. Today, I want to dive into a topic of data productization with a very well-known data provider and basically answer the question of how do you develop data products that customers literally rip out of your hands because they create lots of value, they're priced at the right way, and data products that really find a use case and a demand that is that needs this data product. And today I'm talking to Michael Gunther, VP and Head of Insights at Consumer Edge. Thanks a lot for your time. And we just talked about it. I noticed your surname is German, so I said Gunther. In Germany, we would say Günther, but I will stay with Michael, I think, for now. So thanks a lot for joining, taking the time. Michael, maybe you can give a short introduction about yourself personally, where you're from, and everything that is relevant about Michael.
Great. No, happy to be here. So I'm Michael Gunther, Head of Insights at Consumer Edge. I'm a native New Yorker. I've always been in finance, both on the sell side and buy side, family offices, hedge funds, and equity research shops. I joined Consumer Edge in late 2015, so I've been here for quite a while. Look, data has always been at the center of everything I've done, whether it was equity research using oil driller data to come up with insights on those stocks to now, which is, a data first company at Consumer Edge. So what we do at CE, we provide data and insights to both merchants, retailers, as well as investors looking to make key decisions, whether they're investment decisions or partnership decisions or site selection decisions. Our customers rely on our data to get that done. So what we're most well known for is our consumer transaction data product. We started in the US and then we expanded to UK and continental Europe. And look, we're always looking to get a more complete picture of the consumer because that's what our clients demand. And I know we'll be speaking a lot about our consumer purchase data product, Basketview, today. That really satisfies that need.
Yeah, got it. Just out of curiosity, what you come from this finance background, what made you join the data side? What made you join Consumer Edge? Personal connections, interests, serendipity.
Well, no, a lot of it had to do with the people that I met along the way. But I think old school Wall Street was not always particularly data driven. So the fact that CE was founded with a data focus, even though they were producing traditional equity research, but everything was informed by data, not by sort of these more qualitative factors, was always really interesting to me. It's actual data that you can create analysis from that was more real. So I've been able to combine my interest in sort of traditional finance with data. So I get to, I have the pleasure of speaking with everyone from a hedge fund manager to, a strategy officer at a retailer. So I get to kind of combine these different interests in one way. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I can see that. And just out of understanding, so Consumer Edge, it's like consumer spend data, which, for retail, finance, hedge funds, to be used for different use cases. It's not about it's not like, advertising stuff, what people are buying and then, show them ads for that. It's more really about what trends you see and what consumers are actually spending money on on an insights level that can inform investment decisions, that can inform other decisions in other industries of finance as well, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So on the transaction data side, the credit and debit card data, this gives you insight into spending trends at, tons of different brands. We track over 10,000 brands in our US product alone across all different types of industries, be it, specialty mall retail, online merchants, beauty, restaurants, travel, leisure, really anything a credit or debit card can touch. So on the corporate side, merchants and retailers want to know how are their competitors doing on a near real-time basis. And they also want to understand more about their own customers. Certain companies know a lot about their own customers, certain ones don't. Be it on the demographic side, geographic side. But, even if a company knows a ton about its own customers, they don't necessarily know what those customers are doing outside of their own brand. So think of a situation.
So you could see customer spending, how much customers are spending on your company. What else are they spending on money, for example?
Yes. And also it can really give you insight into, a customer churn analysis. You can actually, with our products, isolate people that used to frequent a brand and then stopped. So you're isolating just that subset of people. What did those people do at these 10 competitors? So then that can inform marketing strategy. We're losing, most of our customers to these two brands who've been focused on this particular type of product, this particular type of customer. So now we need to pay closer attention to that. And, hopefully a company who's subscribed to our data is doing that early before it turns into something bigger. But that's something that they wouldn't be able to do outside of data like this. And, similarly, thinking about like partnerships, where else do people shop within my industry, but also outside of my industry? So let's say an apparel company wants to partner with a hotel company, let's say. Well, you need to know, where are my customers more likely to stay? And there's really not a great way to know that outside of data like this, where you're looking at actual purchase data.
Yeah. That's a very, 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 very powerful data type, have to say. So probably the use cases are
Endless.
unlimited. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I think that gives me and everyone who's also, listening and watching this, I think, quite a good understanding of consumer edge. Now, before we jump to our topic of data productization, I asked this in most of the interviews, because today you can't talk about data without talking about AI. And I think vice versa, you can't talk about data today, AI today, without talking about data. And just to, get like your take on this, do you see the type of data that you have, that this is something right now AI companies or companies in general see as also training data they can train LLMs with, or, whatever models they've built? Is this also kind of a use case that Consumer Edge is looking at? And if yes, what is right now a great use case for using consumer spending data for AI training?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly something that our clients have been interested in. I think to your point about training data, this is certainly something we're receiving more inbounds about across different use cases. I can't speak to specifics necessarily, what types of use cases those clients are interested in. But, aside from training data, we're obviously leveraging AI quite a bit just to make our clients' lives easier, right? So just being able to derive just the piece of the data that's the most impactful to them, AI can help a lot with that. And in terms of product development, it definitely enriches our products, makes them more robust, more accurate. So we're really, really focused on AI. That there'll be a lot more to share on how that's manifesting itself in our product suite soon. But this is definitely top of mind for leadership at our company.
Yeah. And I think it's like, lots of those AI companies are realizing, hey, web scraping data, there's just so much you can scrape, and then it's scraped, and it's still a lot. But, there's so many powerful data types which are not openly publicly available. You can't just scrape consumer spending behavior data. So I think those are the proprietary data sources that, if I would be, a large AI company, I would be like, give me this data. Like, I need this.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see what's to come there in the future. Now let's dive into the topic of data productization. And what I'd like to learn today, like maybe based on an example that you can give on a recently released product, like how does this process of data productization actually looks like at a data provider? Yeah, so data productization, of course, like corporates do it, you do internal data products and so on, but I think it's a very magical journey of how actually a data product gets conceived at a data provider when it hits the market. And that's something I'd like to learn. And, for this case, what is for example, a data product that you've recently released?
So first off, like the genesis of any data productization comes from what we're hearing from clients. Yeah. So if clients are asking for insight and visibility into a particular area that we're not necessarily tracking right now, and we're seeing a critical mass of clients doing that, and we know that it's going to be valuable to them and makes up a big enough portion of their decision-making process, that's where we start, right? Yeah. So it's not as if we just, come across a new data set and, just go with it because it seems interesting to us. It's always driven by what our clients are saying, what they're demanding. So
do you have like a database where you collect customer feedback on hey, they'd like to see more of this insights or more of this data or something?
We have a very robust client feedback process that, we kind of categorize, and that informs prioritization. It informs how we think about our upcoming product suites, because sometimes we'll answer a question with our current data, but a certain slice of it needs to come from somewhere else. So those are the sorts of things we start piecing together before investing any time or resources into development.
And who owns this process? Is this you? Is this a data product manager? Because,
it's a pretty, collaborative effort. Obviously the client-facing teams that we have here are all involved in this. And then, it all bubbles up to product developers and company leadership, because, there's multiple layers of people that are involved in just even deciding where we should be spending our time. Because obviously if we're spending time in one place, it's, going to take away from other places. It all needs to come from what the market is demanding.
Yeah, got it. So, also I see similarities to, software products, right? So we develop software products, and there, we also need to get all the customer insights, like what they're saying, especially the customer facing teams. And then, product managers basically categorize this, prioritize this, and say, we're seeing themes here, and more customers are talking about this one. We don't have this feature yet, so maybe we should develop this new feature. And I think there's this parallel, right? Like, hey, we don't have this data product yet. We can't give this insight yet. This seems to be a new theme. Let's develop it, right?
Right. So that's sort of what brought about our Basketview product. And not only is it the type of data, but what about the data is important to people. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of data sources on the market, but I'll go into Basketview in a second.
Yeah. Maybe you can exactly give us like a nice explanation of like what Basketview actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a consumer purchase data product. We're currently offering it in a row level format, and also an aggregated format, just depending on what clients need. So it combines different data sources to give a really nice view of what's happening across the consumer spending landscape. So it's physical receipts, and this can be happening at a grocery store. It can happen at a department store, sporting goods store, a Walmart, anything like that. We have direct account connectors. So, think of something like Amazon, where we're getting for a subset of users all of the purchase data that's available for their Amazon purchases. Then we have email receipt, and then importantly, POS data at tens of thousands of small format convenience stores. And, when selecting these different data sets to blend together, we really were thinking about what would be a blend that made the optimal representation of what's happening at retail. So, for example, for consumer packaged goods, which is our focus on our aggregated product that we've recently released, having through physical receipts is great, but we've intentionally enhanced it with convenience store data, because that's just where a lot of these sorts of purchases occur. So we blended that into one product, and now our clients are getting visibility into convenience store, grocery store, discount store spend for hundreds of different consumer packaged goods parents companies. And, we'll be expanding the areas we cover soon. But right now, that's our big focus. And a key here, and this is something we've heard from clients a lot, is how quickly we're able to turn around the data. So we are by far the fastest, and meaning the lowest lag between when the purchase occurred and when we're delivering data to clients. So clients are able.
How long is it?
It's 4 days from when the purchase occurred until the client actually receives the data early in the day, much faster than the other players in the market. So, when you're thinking about catching inflection points early, and by the way, because we can track pricing, this is really top of mind for people now, given the potential impact of tariffs on pricing at the grocery store. Being able to detect that early on a macro level, on a brand level, on a parent company level, category level, is really, really important to people. So that was a really big focus for us.
Now taking this back to the question of, before you develop a product, you're listening to what our customers saying. What was the core feedback that led you to conceive Basketview? Was it like feedback from across different industries? Was it more like, investors? Yeah. Was it more like retail?
Yes to all of that. So right now, like with transaction data, you're able to see direct to consumer spend. So let's take a retailer or a merchant example. Let's say it's a native online apparel company. They want to know all the different players in their space. How are they performing? So they're getting a real-time view into the competitive landscape. Fantastic. And, all the different other insights that I described earlier. But with transaction data, you're seeing where it was purchased, like what merchant, what website, how much it was. You're seeing demographic data. You don't know what was purchased. So this, as part of our sort of product journey, answers the what in a way that direct to consumer like transaction data doesn't do. So this just sort of enhances how Consumer Edge can provide like a really, really robust view of the consumer. So instead of just knowing that something was purchased at website ABC, now we can see what was purchased, what category does it fall in, what was the price of the item, what was the discounting level. All those sorts of things have been a high interest to our corporate clients and our investor clients for a long time. Similarly, if you think about, outside of the CPG space, an investor wants to know how is Under Armour selling at sporting goods stores, not just underarmour.com. So it's just sort of enhancing how many questions we can answer about a given business. So it really fits into our entire suite of products so well. And that's what we're continuing to do. This is just the beginning. I do, in a moment, want to touch on another product we just launched that answers even more in some incremental white space as well. And that's our Click product, which we can get to soon.
So you have your core product, which is used by your customer base, delivering value. And basically what you did based on the feedback from customers, that was probably like, they had questions of like, more detailed questions about, hey, look, I can now see somebody spent, I know, so much on a certain website or on a certain whatever company, but I can't see what was purchased. I can't see the basket. I just see like a total amount. You basically reacted with Basketview saying, hey, look, we can increase the resolution. And by zooming in, actually increasing the resolution, we can now answer, or you can now answer more questions with this data that you were able to do before. Got it. So it's like really like increasing the resolution, going even deeper with the magnifying glass and seeing exactly what's happening. Okay, so just to recap, like the early stages of the data productization, there, you have a core product, which is the transaction data, which is like the total basket value. Then you notice, hey, more customers are asking like, hey, we want to know like what's in the basket. So you're saying, well, everybody's asking for that. It really fits with all those customer groups, not just one specific one where we would build a small solution, but we can actually build a product that serves everyone. Then you conceived Basketview. Now, I think what's quite interesting, just staying with this example for a second. Now, did you already have all the data that you actually needed, but the product wasn't yet created? You didn't yet do the transformations, the stitching and so on? Or once you came up with this product, did you have to actually start to source for new data in order to actually build this product?
We have a team of people that's always hyper aware of what's available and what sorts of insights they provide. It's not as if we're starting once a client starts saying something. So we're already kind of ahead of the curve there. I will tell you, with a data set like Basketview, it is, an incredibly complex data set. And that's where our great tech teams, product development teams, and commercial teams really come into play to, clean it up, transform it, to really derive insights out of it, because it's just gigantic. Imagine, we're seeing receipt level data with individual products. Things show up in different ways depending on where you're, purchasing it, what retail you're purchasing it at. So that's really a huge part of our special sauce, as we like to say, where we're adding all that additional analytics, data science work, cleaning, panelization to make it make sense. Because, in its most raw level, without any of the additional pieces we've added on, it might be difficult to interpret. So we think that's a tremendous value add, and that's certainly something we continue to hear from our clients.
Yeah. So what was the most difficult, or let's say the most challenging, the most effort in creating Basketview? Was it sourcing this data? Was it harmonizing this data? Was it creating specific insights based on this data? Like, where in this journey is actually like the biggest meat in creating this data product?
I think the part I was just describing in terms of turning something that might be a little messy and into something that can provide insights easier. In terms of figuring out like what we would want it to look like, we have a lot of people on my team and other teams that have this investor and corporate background. So we kind of have a really good sense of what people want to see and how they want to see it. But, it's getting there. It's harmonizing the data, as you say. Like when you're blending any sorts of data sets, which is sort of our, bread and butter, we know how to do this really well. It's really complicated. So normalizing for user growth, all the merchant tagging, the product tagging, all of that is really, really complex. So, at the end of the day, I think that the product certainly reflects all the hard work that's gone from transforming it from that to where it is now.
So if I look at it like in 3 steps or like in like 3 parts, there's a part of where the data comes from, and you need to have access to this data, right? Like this is important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Without, having data as a source, like you can't work on anything. Then that seems to be like something you're extremely good at, right? Like being so long in the industry, Consumer Edge is not like a young startup that was founded 3 months ago. It's like, it's a well-established player. So I think that's also where you have those connections. And there's this other part, this client side, where you're describing, hey, also here, like, you've been working with clients for many, 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 many years. You have a clear idea of, or a vision of how the product needs to look like, what are the columns, the different parts of this product. But then what's in between, like the vision and the raw data, that's like the hard thing about the hard part. Normalizing, harmonizing, mapping. Is this topic of like matching also like, from an ID perspective important here? Like, matching a receipt to an online transaction and so on and so on, or
of products and different types of receipts is tremendously complicated. But I mean, that's again where the value really comes into play, right? Because, you want to be able to see the complete picture for, Hershey chocolate bars, no matter where they're being purchased, right? Because that's what's going to matter both to, an investor looking to understand what's happening at the business and just, general market observer as well. So, as opposed to having to stitch together yourself all these different places where it's sold, being able to understand across different retailers how it's performing versus its category as well. That's where the real insight comes from.
Now, I think what I also find quite interesting is, what you're saying is like, you conceived this product, Basketview, based on the feedback from customers, based on data, that exists and you can get access to, and you already have stitching this together in a very, very smart way. Now that's something you don't just do once, right? Because the data updates, and you were saying, hey, you have right now from the purchase to you deliver the insights 4 days. It also seems like a data product is not just created once and it's ready and done, but it also seems like something you have to do all the time. Like you're probably getting like updates on new data sets, new movements, new purchases. I don't know, maybe every second, every minute, every hour. That's also part of creating a data product, right? That you're building a pipeline that this product is always up to standard.
No, absolutely. I mean, then again, that's that's going to be our fantastic tech teams that set that up, make sure that we're able to detect any issues, make sure everything's flowing through properly, because obviously, once our clients get the data, then they're dependent on it. So it's really important that we deliver it, in a consistent fashion. But, that's a really, really big part of the product development process, something that I'm not personally involved in, thank goodness. But it's very, very important. But just even monitoring different trends, both from a data quality perspective, but also an insights perspective. And because the lag is so quick, we know that our clients are relying on this on a very timely basis. By the way, I will mention that the 4-day lag that I mentioned before was for our aggregated product, and the raw data can be quicker than that.
Of course.
So that's, so that's a huge advantage there.
Yeah. When you launched the product, did you have like a alpha beta phase as well? Like, can we imagine this like a software rollout, or when it's launched, and then it's GA, general available, everybody can use it? Or how was the actual launch phase of this product?
As you mentioned before, we're a big player in the space. We've been around for quite a while. We have really good, deep relationships with our clients. So you can imagine we were having conversations in earlier phases just to make sure we were incorporating all of the needs and demands of important clients into the product development process. So there's always that phase where you may be making tweaks and adjustments depending on what someone's interested in. The aggregated products, simple coverage, we launch with a really nice set, a couple hundred parent companies. And then we listen to our clients in the early days, and to the extent they're interested in us adding more, and you see that there's demand for a certain subset, then we'll start publishing on those names as well. So it's sort of an iterative process in that way. We never just, put out a product and say, all right, there it is. We obviously want to meet clients where they are. We have deep expertise in the area, so we usually get it pretty accurate in terms of what people want. But of course, there's going to be areas that we're not currently tracking. The data set, as I mentioned, is so massive, so you can't uncover everything at once, but we listen to clients and that informs how we evolve.
Got it. Also makes a lot of sense. It's the same in software, right? Like you can't just build software in your little cave and then, a year later you launch something, hey, here we go. And that's it. Like you always have to involve customers while developing products, and it's not different for data products.
Right.
Probably even more so, right? Because data is usually something that is, quite customized as well. So that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk a little bit about another product that we launched more recently.
Go ahead.
Basketview.
Yeah.
Which is, and there's going to be a lot more to come, by the way, but which is...
I'm sure about that.
Yeah. Our Click product. So this is a blended web traffic and transaction data product that spans 59 countries. And so it's providing visibility on a much more global basis, especially into areas that are not well covered by traditional consumer data sets. So we're talking B2B. We're talking areas that might depend more on ACH payments, non-direct spend. So, think of something like Booking.com that doesn't necessarily earn a lot of revenue directly from consumers. I think of something like Coinbase that's receiving inflows from bank accounts that, aren't covered by credit and debit card data. And, in addition to this blended metric we've created called addressable spend, which is basically if every visit net of a bounce, which is just someone going to the site, visiting one page and leaving, if every visit turned into a sale, what would that revenue opportunity be? In addition to that, we're also able to provide metrics like amount of time spent on the sites, average number of page views, bounce rate, all these different things that can be used by both investors and merchants. So, on the merchant side, there was an example recently where we looked at traffic and addressable spend data for Hims.com that ran a big Super Bowl ad. And you could see the amount of visits spiked after the Super Bowl ad. But more importantly, that addressable spend amount went up so much more. So this is the sort of thing that a competitor or even someone in an adjacent space can use the data and say, that actually worked really, really well. Maybe I should replicate that. Or if, you look at a different company that ran an ad and those numbers didn't move as much, maybe it's a strategy they would look to avoid. But then, from an investor side, being able to have that true global view, visibility into B2B companies is huge. It just expands the universe of what they can invest in based on data.
Absolutely. To me, it sounds like there's kind of a trend, at least at your company. Maybe that's also a trend at lots of other data providers. But it sounds like this blending of data sets from different sources that might have not been blended before. This seems to be a theme. How come? Is this a more recent development, or is this an industry trend? Was this always the case that the blending of data is very important?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be increasingly important. It really does leverage our expertise and our longevity in the space to create something truly unique. So these products that I mentioned, you're not going to be able to find them anywhere else. So that's one of the reasons our clients are so interested. And by blending, you're getting a more robust view, a more complete view of a business and of the consumer overall. So, just for example, like with web traffic data, you can glean certain things from web traffic data, but, there's nothing around what that actually means for spend. And that's why we've created this addressable spend amount. Similarly with Basketview, blending all these different places that people shop into one signal gives a unique, robust view. So it's necessary to do that, to create something unique and to create something that's not just a slice of what someone's interested in.
Makes sense. Looking at the time, last question from my end. We talked about, the process, how you develop products. At least we got a glimpse of it at Consumer Edge. We learned about a few products and also themes they share. And you also said that there's more to come. So what does the future, what's to be excited? Maybe about the space, maybe about Consumer Edge. What can you tease already that's coming in the next months, years in this particular data type and industry?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mentioned with the raw data with Basketview, there's the ability to see spending not just for consumer packaged good items, but well beyond that. So, expect to see more coverage in terms of, wholesale sales for all sorts of sectors outside of consumer purchase data, consumer packaged goods. So then, be on the lookout for more geographies, more data types. We're really trusted in this space and, just want to continue to be a one-stop shop to get a full consumer view.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you.
Was super, super interesting to get a view behind the curtain. Yeah, I think we could spend many, many more hours, and I'd love to learn even more than I just learned. It was a great session for me. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed this. Thanks a lot for spending this time. This was Michael Gunther from Consumer Edge, VP and Head of Insights. Thank you so much. And hey, I also hope you enjoyed this session with me.
Thank you. I really did. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. See you later.
All right. Take care.